Okay, so let's see how we can incorporate absolute value into an equation and then still be able to solve for x, or solve for the variable. Take a look at this example. We'll start simple. So here we have the equation, the absolute value of 3 plus x equals 5. Now here's what is interesting here. Whenever we have, there are two numbers that if I took the absolute value, let's think about it this way. If I had, I'll do it over here. If I had the absolute value of a number, we don't know what, and I know that the answer is 5, you should be able to tell me that there are two ways I can do this. If I take the absolute value of the number 5, if I put 5 in there, then I will get an answer of 5. Or if I use the number -5, the absolute value of -5, I will also get 5, because remember that we always get a positive solution whenever we take absolute value. So here's why this is a little bit different than the solving of other equations. We need to solve it 2 times. The first time I need to find out how to find the value of x if all of this stuff equals +5. And then I need to solve for what would happen if I get 3 plus x equals -5, because it's okay for this 3 plus x, it can equal 5, or it can equal -5, and either way we'll get our answer. So we're solving the equation twice, once for when it equals +5, once for when it equals -5. We solve it the same as usual, and I won't take a lot of extra time to do it. We would try to isolate x. That means I'm going to get rid of the 3, subtract 3 from both sides. I get x equals 2. Come over to my second example. Same idea. We need to get x by itself, subtract 3 from both sides. Now I get x equals -8. So there are 2 solutions here. X can equal 2, or, and that's the key word here, or x can equal -8. Does this work? Let's test it out. If I take this 2 and I plug it in up here, I would get 3 plus 2 is 5. The absolute value of 5 is 5. So does this work? Yes. Let's try the second example. Plug in the -8. 3 plus -8, well, that's the same as saying 3 minus 8. 3 minus 8 gives me a -5. The absolute value of -5 is +5. So does it work? Yes, both solutions work. So what have we done differently? We've solved the equation the same, using all the same rules that we typically use to solve an equation to get an answer, a solution for x. The only difference is I noticed there was an absolute value, and what I did was I solved it twice. Solved it once for when it's +5, once for when it's -5, and then I got my 2 solutions. Let me show you another example, very, very similar, but with a little bit more work that needs to be done. So we will write, let's see. Still going to take the absolute value of 3 plus x, but let's say that we're going to add 2 equals 5 still. We'll do that. And actually, you know what? I'm going to put a number over here too. Okay, so this is 3 times the absolute value of 3 plus x plus 2 equals 5. Now I know that I'm going to need to solve it twice, but here's something that's important. We need to get, in order to know what our choice number 1 and our choice number 2, or our solution, I guess I should say, number 1 and solution number 2 is, we need to rearrange this formula or this equation first. I need to get it so that the absolute value is alone on one side. So in order to do that, I am going to rearrange it. I'm going to get rid of those because they're in my way. I'm going to rearrange by subtracting 2. I think you'll see where I'm going with this in a minute. That will leave me 3 on this side, and it will leave me with 3 times the absolute value of 3 plus x over here. I'm almost done, but I still have this 3 to get rid of. This is 3 times this quantity, which is these lines also function a little bit like parentheses. So we want to get rid of this 3 by dividing everything by 3, which leaves me with the absolute value of 3 plus x equals 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now this looks just like our previous problem, except that we have a different number. It's instead of 3 plus x equals 5, this time when I simplified it all down, I got the absolute value on the left of 3 plus x equals 1. So now I know how to solve it. I know I need to solve for 3 plus x equals positive 1. So that's going to be my first solution. And then my second one is going to be 3 plus x equals negative 1, right? Because this absolute value can be positive or it can be negative, and it'll still give me a positive 1. So I solve, subtract 3 from both sides, I get x equals negative 2. Subtract 3 from both sides here, I get x equals, this is negative 4. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. So my two solutions are x is negative 2, and then we also have x is negative 4. Does it work? Let's plug it in. Negative 2, substitute it back in here. If I put negative 2, I get 3 minus 2 is 1, times 3 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Oh, because this absolute value would keep it positive, I should say. So 3 minus 2 is 1. The absolute value is 1, times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So this works. Does it work with a negative 4? So instead of negative 2, let's say we put in negative 4. We would get 3 plus a negative 4, so basically 3 minus 4. That gives me negative 1. But the absolute value of negative 1 is just 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So again, we see that it works. This top number, x equals negative 2, is what gives me a positive 1 out of this, and negative 4 is what gives me a negative 1 out of this, which is still fine because of the absolute value. So that is all you need to know to get started. We'll be looking at more examples during class, and we'll kind of be playing around with it. I'm sure what always happens is that we go over a lesson, and it seems like, okay, that makes sense. And then we're going to work through some problems, and we may hit some speed bumps along the way where you say, wait a minute, I'm not sure if I understand how to solve this problem. It seems a little bit different than the rest. And that's why we have our class time to go over those specifics. But we've laid the foundation, so that is all you need to do for tonight's homework.